Hey everybody, welcome back to The Pressing Matters. I'm Scott. Thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for your support. Today I'm super excited to talk about one of my favorite bands of all time, and that's Genesis. There's big news on the horizon for Genesis fans, and if you don't already know about it, stay tuned because I'll tell you all about it in a second. Before I get started, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. If you like what I do, please hit thumbs up. Like, subscribe, notification, and you'll be sure to get notified of any new content that comes up. So thank you for doing that. It really does help support the channel. So the big news is the Atlantic 75 campaign is rolling out, and part of it is going to be an AP series. So Analogue Productions is putting out 75 titles in 2x45 format with stout and gatefold jackets, new masterings, and so forth. The exciting part of this, and it's a big part of it, and what people are really starting to talk about is Genesis. For the first time since the Classic Records editions, the Genesis catalog is going to be remastered from the original master tapes by Bernie Grundman or Chris Bellman and presented in stout and gatefold jackets and so forth. This is big news because up until now, the 2009 remixes by Nick Davis were replacing the original mixes. No one knew if the original mixes would ever appear again, and fans are really not crazy about those. Tony Banks may be, but fans really didn't react well to the remixes in general. So this is very exciting news. The Classic Records editions are very expensive to obtain on the used market. So a nicely done series of Genesis best albums is very, very welcome. I'm going to tell you all about the specifics as I go through these. I want to show a couple things before we start, just for context. Genesis started playing together in high school, and one of their first albums is hardly considered canon, even by Genesis themselves, but I love it, and I wanted to show an edition of it that I have. The story goes that the album From Genesis to Revelation, when it first came out, it was in a black sleeve with gold Gothic lettering, From Genesis to Revelation, and little else. There was no promotional picture, no listing of the band or anything like that. And the story goes that record store employees didn't know where to put the album, and it ended up in the religious section, and that's why it didn't sell well. I could see maybe making that mistake. Religious records were a thing then, and for whatever reason, it's had several reissues over the years, and this is one called Rock Roots, and it includes the singles from the time period. I find this album charming. It's early psych pop in the vein of, sort of like in the vein of the Bee Gees' more psychedelic offerings. It has influences from them for sure, and I think it's a really interesting record. A lot of people don't like it, but they prefer the more progressive sound of Genesis, and this doesn't have that yet. That really started to happen with the next album, which was Trespass. So I have a Japanese pressing of this. This is not included in this new series. It wasn't included in the Classic Records series either. So finding a good pressing of this is difficult. This Japanese pressing is pretty good as far as that goes. I like it. And this is the first time we see, the wraparound painting type artwork that occurred on the next albums. This, if you look, has a knife through the canvas, and that is because the signature tune on this is The Knife. A great album, but not quite the full flower of progressive rock that we would get in the next album, which is included in the series, and that's Nursery Cryme. So Nursery Cryme, again, this is the Classic Records edition, has that bizarre painting with the wraparound artwork. This is the first album with Phil Collins on drums and some vocals. It also marked the departure of Anthony Phillips. So this is Steve Hackett now on the acoustic guitars and lead guitars. And this is the sound that would continue over the next few albums. That fairy tale sound, the storytelling, whimsical storytelling, the sometimes hard progressive rock elements, and other times folky kind of sounding elements. The the longer compositions are starting to crop up with the musical box, and the classical influences are felt throughout this album as well. Musical box on the 45 is going to have its own side. So one thing that's concerning to some fans about some of these Genesis 45s, particularly Foxtrot, is that the longer compositions are going to get broken up. This does not happen, is apparently on this 45. It looks like it's going to be intact, and this is an album that can suffer a side break here and there as long as it doesn't occur in the middle of a composition, and it doesn't. So I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be wonderful. That will be remastered by Chris Bellman. This also is going to be done by Chris Bellman. This is Foxtrot. And this is the one that people are a little concerned about because their signature tune, Supper's Ready, which occupies a whole side, will have to be cut for the 45. I looked at where the cut is. It wasn't where I expected, but I think it works well. Honestly, compared to something like, say, Yes, Close to the Edge, where it is kind of a sweeping thematic composition, Supper's Ready has distinct sections, and I think this can work fine on 45. I don't think it's going to be a big issue. To pass up a 45 because of that, of Foxtrot, would be foolish, in my opinion. It's going to sound great. And you're going to get Them Out by Friday, Timetable, Watcher of the Skies. Can Utility and the Coastliners is fabulous. This is going to be wonderful. And you can be confident that the big sweep of the end of Supper's Ready, which climaxes in Apocalypse, is going to be intact. All the movement up towards that climax is all going to be on one side. So I think it's going to work well. It's going to be beautiful. Again, we have that really interesting painting, and this is going to be a gem at 45. Next up is Selling England by the Pound. It was once considered their best sounding album up until this point, even with the appearance of Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Personally, I think both of them are strong. I think Lamb Lies Down may be better sounding, but this no doubt was a big step up over the earlier two. This one does not have a wraparound painting. This is the EMI 100 edition. I also have, with all these, I have UK, Japanese, classic records editions, and we'll probably have access to more to do these comparisons with the 45s. But this will be the first title released in the Atlantic 75 series, so you can expect a full comparison from me on this title. This one is very accomplished. And Dancing Out with the Moonlit Night starts out with a beautiful a cappella vocal from not Phil Collins, from Peter Gabriel. Fifth of Firth is an ambitious composition with a lot of classical piano. Tony Banks really shines on that. It's gorgeous. Cinema Show is the longer composition on this. I believe it's going to have just share a side with the ending track, which is Isle of Plenty. That should work out just fine. And this will be a stunner. This will be wonderful. Do not miss this on 45. It's the first one coming out. It's selling like hotcakes, apparently. And we really don't know how many they're pressing of these. The only thing we do know as far as Genesis related material is that the Phil Collins ones, face value, hello, I must be going, or whatever it is. There are only going to be 6,000 of those. So those are limited. It's not really clear if the rest of them are limited, but I wouldn't want to take the chance. Honestly, as soon as I saw these, I got my pre-order in. You don't have to pay up front. You know, you just get billed when they come out. Really, it's a no-brainer. Just do it. Don't miss out on these, because what if they only press 3,000 in the initial run, and then you have to wait till the end of the 75 titles to come out to get a repress, and that could be 3 years or more, or never. So don't take that chance, is my advice. The next one is going to be Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Of course, this is a double album set. It is Peter Gabriel's swan song for Genesis, and he wrote most of the material, wrote most of the lyrics for this, and had the concept. And it's very Peter heavy, and it sounds wonderful. It's got some great sonic highlights on it that are going to sound so good on 45. My favorite moment on this, well, I have many, but my first favorite moment is Fly on a Windshield. I love the way that transitions from just the slightest whisper to the biggest crash and deep synth bass you'll hear on record. It's stunning on the classic 45. I can only imagine what Bernie's going to do with this. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be broken up onto 8 sides. That's a little bit of an issue. For me, it's not, though. I take this album in limited doses. I usually listen to a side at a time. So, you know, hearing it broken up on 8 sides is not an issue for me. I am curious what they're going to do about the packaging, though. Are they going to put 2 records in one pocket? I sure hope not. I hope they come up with either a more elaborate gatefold with extra pockets, or a box. For $120, it really should have a box, I think. Okay, now I get to talk about the one I'm most excited about, and that is A Trick of the Tail. This is the beginning of the Phil Collins era Genesis, when they were still doing progressive rock. And the gentle transition from this, well, from Lamb Lies Down on the Broadway, but really this is more akin to Selling England by the Pound, in my opinion. Lamb Lies Down on Broadway was very Peter heavy. You know, it definitely had Peter's fingerprints all over it, where this is more like a group effort, like Selling England by the Pound. Phil Collins works right into this role, and no one thought that this was going to happen. They were all like, what are they going to do without Peter Gabriel? I mean, it's not going to work. But it did. It worked really well. And this is my favorite Genesis album. I absolutely love this. I mean, I love the other ones too. Really, I love them all, but there's something special about this one. And the reason I might feel that way is I started seeing them live around this time. This is the first album I got into. And then I worked backwards after that. Just beautiful stuff on this. I can't wait to hear Dance on a Volcano on 45, and then followed up by Entangled. So you're going to get that powerful, deep bass synth and thrilling, acrobatic, like, ride of Dance on a Volcano, and then you're going to get that beautiful, delicate, gorgeous Entangled. Then you're going to get Squonk. Squonk is going to blow people's minds on 45. And so on and so forth throughout this album. Madman Moon, A Trick of the Tail, and Los Endos? Los Endos, I think. What is the last track on this called? I always forget. Yeah, Los Endos. Los Endos is going to be beautiful. Great display of Phil Collins' drumming skills. And this is, I'm predicting this is going to be the audiophile collectible of the future. this in 2x45. Jack Hunt's original master recording is beautiful, no doubt. I think it is spectacular. But I cannot wait for this 45. I think it's going to blow people's minds. Definitely get this. I'm putting, as soon as I saw this, that was the first thing I pre-ordered. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to miss any of these, but no way I'm going to miss this 45. I can't. I just can't. It is a stunning record. I love it. Okay, now to finish this off quickly, I'm disappointed that the sister album that followed A Trick of the Tail is not in the series, at least not for now. Wind and Withering, beautiful album, very much like Trick of the Tail, has stunning moments on it, and it's not being included. Also not being included is And Then There Were Three and Duke. They are going to continue from Abacab and then the Shapes album. So I don't have those on pre-order. It's not that I don't like them. It's just like they weren't urgent like the first ones are. And hopefully we see this and some Led Zeppelin in the future. There's 5 titles they haven't added yet from the 75, and there's promise of possibly more. So all good news for Genesis fans. As you can see, I'm a little bit excited about this. So let me know what you think in the comments. Until next time, I'm Scott from The Pressing Matters. Have a great day.